want to reiterate that we are really, COVID-19 is spiking in our nation and in our city. There's a surge of COVID-19. More people, there's a surge in people dying. There's been an increase in deaths, I was reading today. And so kids, we want to be conscious that even though you may feel good, you may feel okay, you could have COVID-19 and not know it and go around grandmother or uncle or aunt, and give it to them, and it can actually kill them. So we want to be careful to wash our hands, practice social distancing. And I know a lot of kids around here are not practicing social distancing, but we need to help this nation get over this pandemic. And the only way that's going to happen is if all of us, love our neighbor as ourselves. Okay, great. So today we're going to talk about perspective. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I believe that if you are 8 years old or older, it's possible for you to grasp these concepts. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I want even the younger kids to try it too, because since we are live and we are on Facebook and YouTube, I want, I don't care how old you are, age 4 to 94, you can participate in a free art class. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the principles, short, it's going to be short. And then we'll do a drawing in perspective. Okay, let us get started. Okay, I'm going to get my paper. Get some scrap sheet of paper. Scrap sheet. A scrap sheet of paper that you don't care about messing up. I'm going to get my ruler. Now, I just want you to watch. Don't try to draw with me yet. But I just want to talk about COVID. My mind's still on COVID-19. I want to talk about perspective. Oh, by the way, I guess you noticed at the beginning that we had our friends, the Tennessee Arts Commission, we displayed their tags. I want to encourage parents and people who support Splash and who support the arts to think about purchasing an arts tag. It helped, organizations like ours. We are a 501c3. We are a nonprofit organization. And so we rely on donations and grants in order to keep our classes open and free to whoever want to take the class. Well, basically perspective is when you are trying to draw solid objects or represent solid objects on a flat two-dimensional plane, like a sheet of paper or a canvas or wood or whatever. And so we have to use a few tricks to make things look a little bit more realistic. So kids, whenever you are drawing, this sheet of paper is called the picture plane, okay? And I'm going to draw a line. And I'm going to show you how to make the line even, since I have my ruler. I'm using a ruler today. Kids, you don't have to do this. So I'm going to line up my ruler. I'm going to use this first tick. I'm going to line that line up with the edge of my paper, as far as I can see. I need to be directly over it to see. Now, I think I'll go down 4 inches. Now, just make a little tick mark, a little mark. I'm going to do it on this side of the paper, too. I can't get over it without my head just taking up the whole picture. But you get the idea. And I didn't make that level, so I'm going to do it this way. Turn my paper so I can see. Okay, that's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing a horizon line. Okay, I did make it. Okay, that was okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this line by putting the edge of my ruler up against those little marks I made. I'm going to hold the ruler so that it doesn't move, and lightly, see the pencil is in my hand lightly, I'm going to sketch that line. Okay, so the line is straight. So first we'll start with 1 point perspective. So we have 1 point, P-O-I-N-T. We have 2 point, and we have 3 point perspective. Okay, so 1 point perspective is basically when you draw an object. I'm going to draw a cube or a box. When you draw an object, the lines that describe this object have to meet at 1 point. So this is the point that this object met right here on this line here. Okay, see this 1 point here? That 1 point perspective. So 2 point perspective is when drawing an object, the line have to meet or merge on 2 points, at 2 points. So if I put the ruler here, and put the ruler here, and if I keep drawing the line, matter of fact, I can decide where this line is. See, that's 1 point there. Don't need that line there. Now, I'm going to just make sure that this meets on this horizon line that I've already drawn. Just 1 point there. So 1, 2. That's 2 point perspective. So when you're drawing an object, you have to consider its height, its depth, and its width. And you know you have drawn it correctly if you put a ruler on the top and the bottom of that object. These lines will merge, they'll come together. If I put a ruler up and the lines separate, I know I didn't draw it correctly. I'll give you an example. So if I draw this box like this, and it's easy to do this, this is how most people draw. See how it looks kind of weird, kind of wonky? Well, if I put the ruler up against it, place my ruler against, no matter how far out I go in space, you can see that these lines can never meet. They will never meet. So that's how you can check and see if your perspective is correct. 3 point perspective, you're going to show 3 sides of the object. See, 1 point perspective, I show one side of the object, one plane.
That side, so.
Excuse me?
Why don't you shade that side?
This side here? Okay. And 2 point, I showed 2 sides, this side and that side. Okay, now with 3 point, which is harder to do, so it's usually you're looking up or down on an object with 3 point. So I have an object that does something like that. So you have one line, one side that goes like that. That's 1 point. So we're underneath this object here. I'm gonna make this angle so that you can see it. See how the line meet? That's 2 points. I'm gonna make this one really short so you can see that the line meets. That's 3 points. Okay? Also, for this to be correct, this side will have to meet at that point as well. And this side, had to see how I changed that? Had to meet at that point. Okay. So when we draw in classical art, the artist would hold to this in the beginning when artists first discovered this, when artists first discovered perspective, what they would do is they would draw buildings and people or what have you like this and made it perfect. But somehow making it perfect also makes it boring. When Leonardo Da Vinci, when he came on the scene, he understood that you have to kind of vary it a little bit and not make it exact. Let me mention something else to you. Whenever I place an object low on my sheet of paper and say I draw it large, so I'm thinking about these lines have to meet as I'm doing this, okay? So as I'm sketching, I'm thinking about these lines need to meet somewhere in the background. Okay. So if I draw a large object, and if I want that object, well, if I draw an object, if I want that object to appear to be closer to you, I may draw it larger and toward the bottom of the paper. If I want the object to look like it's further away, I draw it higher on the sheet of paper. Okay? And draw it smaller. So it gives the appearance of this object being closer to you than that object. The reason why is the way we see. The way our vision goes out like this in a cone. It gets wider the further out we look. And so, as far as you can see, the wider your vision gets, the less you can see. Okay? So if an object is here, it appears larger than an object of the same size. We're going to try to make this similar to the same size. Okay. So you can see that this object takes up more of your vision than this object. And I actually drew this object larger than this. But since this object takes up more space in your vision, it appears to be larger. Okay? This is a perfect example of one-point perspective here at Chambliss Law, where Splash Kids art is on display. Now, that's a little quick and dirty lesson on perspective. You know the use of triangles in all of these? So let's do a drawing, and I've been thinking about using colored pencils, but I think we'll paint as well if we can finish this drawing today. I think we have time. So first, let's do a horizon line. Listen closely and try to follow. We're not going to use a ruler now, because in the natural life, you don't have these straight, hard lines. But let's go 1/3 of the way down on our sheet of paper. And I need an eraser. My paper is dirty. You know what? I'll get a clean sheet of paper. This is going to be a little simple, again, quick and dirty. We're just trying to discover perspective, okay? So we're going to go 1/3 of the way down to draw our horizon line. The horizon line is as far as the eye can see. It's like looking out on the ocean. You see a straight line. So 1/3, what I mean is if you divide your paper into threes, this might be around 1/3. See how I'm sketching lightly? Just sketch a straight line. You can make more than one line to make it straight. See how I'm holding my pencil? Barely touch the paper. I'm using a 2B pencil so that you can see it. I suggest you use an H pencil. HB, 2H, 3H, 4H, it doesn't matter. So this is going to be the horizon line. And now what I want to do is I'm going to draw a triangle. And the triangle is just like, it's going to be sort of just like drawing this line here. The lines are going to be wider at the bottom of the paper, because if you are next to this path, they would appear wider. And then it's going to be smaller as we go to the top. But I'm not going to let them meet, because this is going to be like a realistic drawing. So this line is going to go from left to right, like that. And you can bend that line, make that line bend a little bit, because it's a path or a road. And I'm going to keep it wide here. I'm not going to let it meet. Then I'm going to draw a triangle, make this sort of like a triangle. I actually want my horizon line to be a little higher. So since we are in art class, you can change it. I'll change this, because I want to get more of this path in your picture. So I don't need this line here. I could leave it or erase it. Since I sketched it, and I didn't draw hard. I drew lightly. It's easy to erase. I suggest you erase it so that you don't get confused. It don't confuse you later. So this is like the horizon line, and this is the road that you're walking down. So by bringing these two lines closer together, it looks like this path is going over a hill. We can't see the end of the road. Let's put some ridges and mountains in the background. Let's first put a little ridge that comes down like this. You can do yours any way you want to. Do something like that. And let's put a mountain that goes up like this. In the South, we see a lot of mountains. Let's put another mountain, and then in the background, let's put even another mountain. Maybe we are in the Smoky Mountains. So we have a little ridge, a mountain, and another mountain. You see how I allowed it to be wavy? Okay. Now what I want to do is, this is what's important for this lesson. I want you to do another line because we're going to have a fence on this side of the road. So the fence is going to be off the road. So the bottom of the fence is going to be here. It's going to follow the road like that. Okay. Then I'm going to start on top of the road like that. And I'm going to draw another triangle. This triangle is going to get larger like this. So this is the road and this is the fence. And we're going to draw the fence so that you don't get confused later. So you have this triangle. This triangle is the road. Now I'm going to make another triangle. Triangular shape for the fence. I think it's easier to start on the left-hand side, the wider part of the fence. We're going to do 2 lines straight up and down, then draw the top and the bottom. And we're going to space these out equally. Sort of, it's actually not going to be equal. I'm sorry. This and that, these two are sort of equal, but then we're going to slightly put the next one a little bit closer. And I'm using the top of this line as the top of the fence. I'm using the bottom of this line as the bottom of the fence. And it gets slightly closer together. If I made them equal, it wouldn't look like a fence. Now, and we're going to do that all the way back to the end. They get a little bit closer together, and then end it looks almost like they're right together. See that? I'm going to shade these in. I may spray these. And for the fence, you could put something like that. If I were just drawing them, you can put some little lines. But that's good enough like that. And this is basically what I want you to learn right here. Let's put a grove of trees back here in the background. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to draw some circles and just some little shapes to show that this is a landscape, and we're going to let these grove of trees be different sizes. See? It can look like this, and like triangles, circles, and let them go all the way across. Okay? So all this back here is in the background. I'm going to shade these grove of trees in. You shade them in too. Look how I'm holding my pencil. I'm holding my pencil at the end, using my thumb and my index finger. I just want those to be a little darker so that if you shade them lightly, you won't get lost. By the way, I want you to get your spray, your hairspray. I told you about hairspray, or if you have fixative, you can get that. I may, next time we hand out art supplies, I may include hairspray. Now, here's what I call the Coup De Gras. This is what's going to make the picture, hopefully. We're going to draw a major tree here. And this tree is going to start on the front side of this fence in the background. Not all the way to the back where your horizon line is, but just go down a little bit. See, imagine you are out here on this road. This is the road, this is grass, and this is fence. We're going to draw a tree. We start from the bottom. Let's draw the trunk first. And then we're going to shade it in. We're going to shade today. We're going to draw. This is the classical way of drawing. Is you do a decent drawing and your painting might be okay. It may work. So we draw the trunk of the tree. I'm bringing it up to this first little ridge area. Then I'm going to allow the trunk to go off to the right. I'm doing double lines and I'm shading it in. See, so the trunk is thick. And the trunk gets thinner as we move to the top, like that. Then I'm going to draw a line that comes off like this to the left. Then let it bend for the limbs. Then I want a limb that comes off of this limb that goes up to the sky. Let it get thinner. So this is the beginning of drawing this trunk. Now I want a limb to come like this, then bend back down. It always gets a little bit wider. See how I'm using double line? It gets a little bit wider when it hits the trunk. Now it'll be easier to paint it because we've already made the tree dark. Now what I want you to do is add limbs to your tree. You can do what I'm doing. I'm just going to add a bunch of limbs. As many as you want to. You can look at the palm of your hands and you see lines in your hand, especially if you're older. If you're too young to have lines in your hand, look at grandmamas or granddaddies. Let them let you look at their hands. Just draw some limbs that come off like that. But my tree is spreading out, okay? My tree is spreading out. That's the main thing I want you to remember. Let the tree spread. Do some more limbs. You have to practice drawing trees. A lot of people make their limbs too stumpy. They'll do it like this. They do something like that. And then for the leaves, they'll do something like this. That's not a tree, that's broccoli. That's what broccoli looks like. But the trees, they'll reach. You reach for the sky. The tree grew up from the roots under the earth and now it's reaching to the sky. See how long these limbs are? Okay. So don't make your limbs too stumpy, is what I'm trying to say. So there are branches on these. There's branches. It branches off. The tree branches off. Then there are limbs on the branches. I don't want to go into too much detail with the tree. So once you've done a few limbs, you'll be finished with it. A few branches, a few limbs. We'll paint the leaves later. So basically, excuse me, this is the drawing. Now, what I want you to do on this side is just draw some grass. So I'm just going to use hatch marks. See how quick that is? Now the grass gets smaller as we go into the background too. So we're just going to indicate some grass, representing grass, just some hash marks. Some lines that just say this is grass. We can paint it in later. And grass is so thick and there's millions of blades that back here you wouldn't be able to distinguish so much between each blade of grass. You just have to scumble and let your brush strokes remind people. See, I'm not just doing straight up and down. Like, see how I'm going sideways too? I'm allowing my grass to bend. So the closer you are, so remember, this is the road here. Don't forget, this is our road, right? But this grass is going to come up above the line on the right-hand side for the road. You can't see where the road line is because it's behind the grass. And on this side, you're going to see higher grass the closer it is to you. So remember, the bottom of the page is what's closest to you. If you can draw this fence and this road, then it's going to look sort of real. Okay? Now we're going to paint it. In class, if you were here, we would spend more time painting. So let's paint it. If you have some hairspray, I want you to spray. I'm going to spray mine. Hold the hairspray, a few. Too much came out. Hold it 6 to 10 inches away. Just spray so that it don't smear so easily. Just don't smudge. My hairspray is about 10 years old, because I haven't used it for drawing. And it's been 10 years. I used to use hairspray all the time because of what I was doing. I was doing portraits, and I'm not doing portraits no more. So let's think of a color for the sky. If you're going to get a blue, let's use, we can use Splash art set. So you will have a blue, but the blue needs to be thin. So we'll do something like a blue wash for the sky. So if you thin the blue, then the white paper can show through, and that will make the blue appear to be lighter. So I'm getting some blue. My blue may have some green in it from the last project. So see what happens when I paint on the page? It appears to be lighter if it's thin. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint that blue in. I don't want it thick. If it's too dark, it looks like it's night. You can even leave some white. The whole background don't have to be blue. Your blue can blend into the white of the paper. Or you can put clouds back there. Wherever there's clouds, you wouldn't paint. See how I'm doing this? See, just put a little blue there, good. Now for the mountains, we're gonna mix a little green with the blue. I'm actually going to get this round brush. I think I may get the effect I want. So I'm going to get this green. I'm going to mix it with the blue. What I want to happen is I want a very light blue, very light, just a slightly darker than the sky. I want it to look more blue, a bluish green, not a greenish blue. No, I'm sorry, a greenish blue, not a bluish green. So I want more blue than green in my brush. And let's try it. So the mountain behind is the furthest away. I want it even lighter than this. You see what I did? So see how I stopped? I actually want it bluer as well. So what I'm doing, see, I'm working fast because this is watercolor. So I stopped, put some blue in my brush. I'm leaving my lines so I can see what I'm drawing, what I'm painting. I just want it a little darker than the sky, so it will appear like it's closer to you. So usually, as a principle, and all of these principles can be changed except for the perspective one. So I hope you can see these colors here. These are the colors I'm working with right now, the blue and the green, in different variations of the color. Now I want a darker blue, a blue-green that's a little darker for this mountain that's a little bit closer to you. You see how the darker it is, Now all of a sudden, this one looks like it's closer to you than that one. Now, if I do this, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some green. I'm just going to do a few hash marks like that, a little scumbling with my paint. I may go back and make this darker, I don't know, but it's not necessary. I want you to use your drawing so that you can still remember what you did as far as the perspective. It's a certain style. This is a certain style of drawing as well. Certain style of watercolor painting. When you can see the lines. This, in Americana, you go back and look at American art history, you see a lot of watercolors that was done in this manner, where you can actually see the lines from the drawing. So now my green is a little bit more greenish blue. And I can make it even darker. See? Now the reason, by adding the blue to the green, or the green to the blue, however you want to look at it, I have balance, an elegant type of balance in terms of color. Now, this one is going to be, this ridge line here is going to be even, hopefully a little bit darker. It could be similar to that one, but it's in front, so it could be slightly darker, where it's not easily discernible. You can't easily tell what's closest to you because of their position in space. So these are the main colors we're going to use, is green and blue for this. I'm painting around this grove of trees. You see how I'm taking my time and using the tip of my brush to paint behind in my mind. This is reality, in a sense. So I'm actually seeing this landscape. I'm going to make this darker, this ridge here that's behind here, behind this first one. I'm going to make it slightly darker. I could mess it up by doing that, but you have to, if you think you need to do something, do it, for crying out loud. Don't be afraid. You have to be brave. Be willing to make mistakes and learn from the mistakes that you make. You see how it's by spraying this, I don't have to worry about my pencil lines smudging so much by spraying my drawing. Now I'm going to use a green. I'm going to have more green, maybe slightly blue, but I may add another color to this. But I really want a green for this grove of trees. But I don't want it just to be a flat green, so I'm going to add blue to it in areas to show the shadows that you would see. Okay? You see shadows, but I want to show more green than anything in these trees. But I can use the tip, I'm using the tip of my brush. I'll dip it in some blue. See if you can see that. I use the tip of the brush. It's kind of like, I'm thinking about, okay, these trees, even though they're in the background and you can't really see them much because of the cone of your vision is wider. Remember when we talked about that? What's closer to you, you can see more detail. What's furthest away, you see less detail. But you know the detail is there. So that's why I'm putting these little marks, blue, dark marks of blue, to try to indicate that these are trees back there. And your eye, the viewer's eye, when a person look at this, because we've seen trees all our lives, our mind makes up for what we can't see, for what we don't see. Your mind makes up for that. You don't need too much water in your brush for doing these little bits back here. And my brush is kind of raggedy, and usually that's pretty good for drawing trees and leaves and things. See how my brush hairs are raggedy? I don't care that much about that. For some things, you need the brush hairs to be totally neat. See, I'm imagining shadows in my trees, and that's where the blue comes in, the blue-green. The blue-green. I could use black, but we try not to use black because it's hard to control. You use black when you really master black, or when you don't have any other options. I used to come home from school every day around this time and draw, because I was in school all day long, so I couldn't draw. Well, actually, I did draw in school too. I wasn't supposed to. But when I was in the first grade, I would draw up all of my notebooks. For the grass, now we're going to do the grass. So we are layering. You notice that? We went from what's furthest back to what's closest to you so far. Now we're on the grass. Now what I want to do is get some yellow, because this is an open field here. And a lot of sunlight is going to hit that field. So I want to go ahead and put some yellow in this before I actually paint the field. I think I'll do the other side too. I just want to use the same brush for now. See my brush strokes? I'm thinking of grass. From top to bottom, up and down, top to bottom. Now what I'm going to do is get a dry brush. I'm going to dry my brush off. I'm going to paint in some rows of green. I'm going to get green, put it on paper, then say back here, I have too much paint in my brush, but I can spread the paint and do something like that. See? I'm going to do the same on the right-hand side. Be sure to get these brush strokes in. A lot of people use this type of brush stroke when they don't know what to do. I don't want you to do it that way. Okay, what I'm going to do, I want my green to be darker. Let's go ahead and use blue again. I could use purple, but let's see if blue works. If blue don't work, we'll use purple. So I'm going to use blue-green again. So we're making a blue-green picture. Now you can use the tip of your brush, or if you have a fan brush. I don't think I have a fan brush in here. Some of you kids may have a fan brush. You know, kids, they find my fan brush and say, "What do you use this for?" And we rarely have an opportunity, but this would be a great opportunity to use a fan brush. But I don't have one in here. Maybe I'll bring one next time. Just think about grass. That's what's in my mind. I want to make brush strokes that make this look like grass. So I need to see some of my background. I need to see some of the yellow. I'm not just painting flat over the picture, see? I'm making the short strokes. You can use I'm following my pencil drawings. See it? See how I'm following my pencil lines here? To make some short strokes. See? Now I'm using the tip of the brush. See that? Go from dark to light. The more variation, the more realistic it's going to look. Get some more green. Now, I could use some purple, but oops, I went too dark on that. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe that up because I don't want to confuse you. I want to go dark, but I didn't mean to go dark so fast. So I'm using the tip of the brush, some of the raggedy hairs, and I'm going darker. Now the reason why right now I'm just sticking to yellow, blue, and green is because blue and yellow makes green. So this is almost like a monochromatic painting. But there's such a thing as color harmony. And see, I just wanted to put some red in here. I may do that later. You know, we're sort of drawing sort of realistic, but this, you could use any colors you want to. The grass could be orange. The sky can be purple. Do anything you want to, because it's your art. And you have your own way of seeing things. I'm going to get some yellow, and I'm just going to paint the grass, mix a light green, and paint the road. We're going to go back over the road, maybe with brown or something. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's get a little bit of brown. I'm going to mix it in the green. I just want a darker green or a darker blue. Okay? Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm mixing this brown in the green. Can they pick that up, Iantha?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is very important. Let's go ahead and do the tree first, but I want to show you something. Well, that didn't work. I need some more green, a greenish brown, a very dark green, a greenish brown. You mix green with brown, you're going to get a dark color. Trees you don't see any brown trees. If trees look gray, when you go outside tomorrow, look for that. I'm going to get a brush that's a little bit, I can make a neater line if I have one. You have some nice small brushes. Remember, use large brushes for large areas and small brushes for small areas. Don't paint a large area. I hate to see kids painting the sky with a brush like this. So, just tracing my tree now. This is brown mixed with green. Tracing the branches. This brown mixed with green. I don't want to use a lot of colors this time. I'm going to use brown. This is too brown. I need more green in it. So I just went back and got some green. I'm going to go back and get some green and paint over this brown. I want to see green in the tree. Use the tip of your brush. Don't always lay your brush flat. I just need a dark color for the tree, a grayish color. This is real good. Now, to show you something that you can do later, I'm going to start with I'm going to get some brown, mix it with my green. And look at the fence. Let's mix the brown with the blue. I changed my mind. Mix the brown with the blue for the fence. And then paint the fence in. One stroke. From bottom to top or top to bottom. Blue and brown. Remember, these marks are closer together the further away they are from you. Blue and brown. Remember, the eye fills in for what it doesn't understand. Okay, let's put this. This is what you can do for the grass. Mix the brown with the green. So we only use yellow, blue, green, and brown. And let's paint in some of the grass. See how the grass is darker? I like painting from bottom. I like painting nature the way it grows. I have to keep getting water, okay, because I'm using a small brush. See that? Using the tip of the brush. I'm just tracing my drawing. So see how important the drawing is? I'm thinking about doing some advanced classes for adults because I found out that there are some adults, let's say older kids, let's say 19, let's say from 16 to 19. I'm considering doing a little bit more involved painting classes in the future, next year. But you need to let me know if you're interested. Because what happened was we have some viewers who are older now, and the younger viewers can still learn from a little bit more in depth. Now, I've naturally gone a little bit more in depth. So that's what you want to do. You want to keep doing this. You can have 1,000 things of grass, but let me show you what to do with the tree. I'm going to still use my small brush, dip it in the blue and brown, and just like dab it for leaves on the tree. See, just dab up and dab it. Okay. Be haphazard, little small leaves. Do it fast. See, when you run out of paint, get some more paint. Some you can use brown. Some of the paint can be brown, darker green. You know, I can go out like this. See, when I do a mark out like this, outside of what I've drawn or painted, it looks like the tree. You know, it looks more realistic. It looks like there's some little thin limbs and branches that we can't see. Just do a lot of those. You don't have to think about it too much. Just barely dab. Dash, 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 dash. It's green, dark green. You can mix some light green. You can actually use yellow green with it too. Put some of your marks in front of the trunk and the branches. Well, not the trunk so much, but the branches. See how I'm putting these the stronger greens in front. See how I'm just right over these limbs. I'm going to add some yellow to my green. I'm going to insert that somewhere. See? The more variation, the more realistic. That's where the sunlight is hitting some of these little leaves. I'm making a decision where to put the yellow green. I just want to, going back to the darker greens. Just want the tree to look natural and full. Everything needs to be haphazard in order for it to look natural. It's something, you do this fast. You don't do, this is not something you do slow. This is a fast technique. You dab on the paper, pick the brush up. Put some leaves in the middle here. Yeah. We're almost done. You have to pay attention though, that your marks are correct. It's easy to make the wrong mark here. It don't take too long to do these leaves either. Just have to have just a little patience to not, you just can't think that it's too hard. Anytime you think something's too hard for you, first of all, it's not true. There's nothing too hard for you. With time, you can learn to do just about anything that you put your mind to. So always tell yourself that you can do something. Never tell yourself that you can't. And please don't tell your teacher you can't do something. And please stop complaining about this is hard. Just ask for help. People have done it before you, and people will do it long after you. And one day you'll do it anyway. Just everybody learn at different pace, different speeds, at a different pace. So just because you can't do it, it only means you can't do it yet. Then, one last thing I want to show you before we sign off. You can go back to your drawing. Oh, did we use brown? We did use brown, didn't we? Yeah, so we used brown. So let me show you something. I'm just going to use my small brush. I'm dipping in the brown. I'm going to thin it out. I want a brownish green. I'm just going to redraw this line. I don't want it to be perfect. Draw this line here. Then just put a little brown on the path. I'm going to spread it with my water. Just try to make it look like a road. That's basically what I'm doing. Put a little brown in here, see, a little dark brown. I mix the brown with the green and the blue, and you get this weird little color. Okay, and remember, as always, I want you to sign your picture. I'm going to sign it on mine on the right-hand side, lower right. And you sign yours with your name and age. All right, great. So here we have a landscape in perspective, using the principles of perspective. And this is basically a one-point perspective. So it's been fun. Once again, I had fun painting, and I hope you did too. You can finish this. You can always rewind and go back and fix things. And thank you for joining me for another free Splash Art class. And as always, remember, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.